Hello, you're watching Headlines. My name is Anastacia Lavrina. In this special edition, we are going to talk about the comprehensive strategic partnership agreement signed between Russia and Iran on January 17 during the visit of the Iranian president to Moscow. Defense, energy cooperation, possible military partnership and many other aspects of that document. We'll talk with our special guest. Joining me now is Ruslan Suleymanov, a non-resident research fellow at the Institute for Development and Diplomacy of AD University, political analyst who has a great knowledge in Russian domestic and foreign policy. So Ruslan, warm welcome to Headlines.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you so much. Let me start with a simple question from the one-side perspectives. That strategic agreement signed by Moscow and Tehran doesn't have a point covering the mutual defense clause, as for example Moscow had with North Korea agreement, which is what's mentioned there. What is the main reason for that? How do you understand the strategy of two countries?
Generally speaking, it is absolutely understandable. Russia and Iran have distrust, have many misunderstandings, and if we look at the previous events and history of this relationship, we can realize that, for example, Russia has never supported Iranian military activity in the Middle East. Just remember, for instance, two military escalations between Iran and Israel in the previous year. Russia just called on the both sides to be restrained. Russia has not supported Iran in these situations. The same thing for Iran, which has never officially supported Russian aggression against Ukraine. And it is absolutely understandable because, for example, Russia is interested just in Iranian weaponry, but Russia has no desire to participate in Iranian military activity in the region. Also, Iran had many questions for Russia in Syria. Iran suspected Russia for supporting Israel. There were many situations when Iranian strongholds in Syria were attacked, presumably by Israel, and at that time Iranian newspapers condemned Russia of supporting Israel. That's why this agreement is just a codification of the current level of cooperation, but it is not a military pact.
But that's very interesting. As far as I know, this document was announced 2 or 3 years ago, and for two sides it was about 3 years to coordinate all of the details. And we do know about the geopolitical changes in the global world, including the latest news about Trump's back to White House. Do you see any, let's say, similarities when we see in between of Russia and Iran and changes, especially in the Western policy attitude to the situation?
For sure, this agreement turned out to be a clear message to the Western countries. It is no coincidence that this agreement was signed on the eve of the inauguration of Mr. Trump. Iran and Russia want to show that they are not isolated, that Western sanctions don't work. And the core problem for both sides is that they have not enough options for cooperation. They are doomed to be with each other. They are doomed to cooperate, to build up new infrastructure and so on and so forth. It is a temporary coincidence of interests, but it doesn't exclude different problems and misunderstandings between Moscow and Tehran.
That's very interesting. Does it mean that this agreement aims to show the close partnership between two countries, especially in a region, rather than to form any kind of policy to resist the Western intervention to the policy of the Caspian Sea, for example, or any other issues related to the situation in the region?
Yes, to some extent we can say that it is just a demonstration. Even without this agreement, Russia and Iran were prone to clarify their desire to be together, and this agreement is just like codification of the current level. But in a nutshell, this cooperation is very, very limited. I mean that, for example, Russia is interested only in Iranian weaponry. Iran is interested in Russian technologies. But if you look at the level of economic partnership, it is very, very limited. For example, the trade turnover between Russia and Iran has fallen by approximately 20%.
What is the reason for that?
Because Russia and Russian business particularly is not interested in Iran. Iran is still very closed, very strange country for Russians, and Russian business has no intention to invest in Iranian economy because it is a very, very difficult country for business.
But when it comes to the military aspects of cooperation between Russia and Iran, there is still a potential for the growing.
To some extent, yes. If we take the situation in 2022, at that time, Russia was very interested in this kind of cooperation. Russia needed at that time, for example, drones. But now Russia has its own military factory in Tatarstan, in Elabug, and Iran could give Russia everything it had in the military sphere. But Russia has no desire to share its military technologies, because these military technologies potentially could be sent against Israel, for example. Russia is still interested in having good ties with Israel, despite of many, many problems and misunderstandings. I mean, for sure, the latest escalation between Israel and Hamas, wherein Russia actually supported Hamas, but still Russia is interested in the cooperation with Israel. Russia doesn't get rid of Israel. That's why Russia cannot send much military weaponry to Iran.
Can we say the same about the possible rapprochement between Russia and the United States of America? So Trump's administration is in the White House, and we do remember the statements made by Donald Trump even during his long speech in front of the citizens of the United States, where he was saying that he is able to solve the conflict between Russia and Ukraine within a day. Now he's saying about 6 months, but if United States is willing to support, then he has to manage the contact with the Russian president as well, and it can somehow affect the future US-Russia relations. And we at the same time do remember the statements made by Donald Trump towards Iran, where he's still considering some problems to appear in the future bilateral relations. Do you expect any effect of these possible changes on Russia-Iran relations in the future?
It depends on personal chemistry between Mr. Putin and Mr. Trump. We cannot predict what comes next. Mr. Trump had previously made many statements, but what comes next in reality, it is not clear. He made a lot of statements and he tried to convince the whole world that he's able to stop the war in Ukraine in 24 hours, but it is not as easy as he promised.
But in comparison to what we saw during Biden's administration, Donald Trump is willing to have a contact with Putin's, right?
For sure, he's interested in this kind of cooperation, but we cannot exclude Mr. Trump from the whole American system, from the whole Western system, but generally speaking, the Western world still supports Ukraine. Be it Mr. Trump, be it anyone else in the White House, this person should understand that this is the system, this is a number of rules, and he cannot destroy all of these rules, even if he is intended to cooperate with Russia, to build up very close relationship with Russia. The same thing is for Iran, I think.
So from your answers, I can understand that this document, this strategic partnership agreement, may not worry the Western alliance as much as, for example, Moscow or Tehran were expecting, right? Should we expect a new reaction?
Absolutely, and it is no coincidence that this document was published at the same day, the website of the Kremlin. I do believe that Moscow wanted to show that there is no secret, there is no additional points or articles, because many Western pundits and many experts on Russia were assuming that this kind of agreement could potentially resemble the document had been reached between Russia and North Korea. But Moscow wanted to underline that it is not the same. It is just a codification, it is just a demonstration of the current level of cooperation, but it is not a military pact.
Right, very interesting. Some more information about possible energy and trade relations between Iran and Russia in accordance to the strategic agreement signed on January 17. Should we expect any new transport agreements to be signed within the project of North? Should we expect any particular changes or movements within the existing transport communications between two countries?
For sure, we can expect new deals, new projects, and development of the current projects, such as North-South corridor. Mr. Putin and Mr. Pezeshkian have noted that they are interested in new projects in the gas field. For example, they announced a new project of gas pipeline from Russia to Iran throughout Azerbaijan. It is not easy to achieve. It will be constructed in many years for sure, but still they have this intention. But this intention will be realized, could be realized and implemented without this strategic agreement. My judgment is that this agreement changes nothing. The two partners can implement their projects based on the previous agreements. I mean that Russia and Iran have signed many important documents during the three previous years, and these documents, especially what concerns, for example, energy, gas, and so on and so forth, these documents are more important than this strategic partnership agreement.
Can it have any implications for the proposals made by other countries in the region? As we know, Azerbaijan is also acting actively to make sure we have Zangezur corridor operating properly in accordance with a trilateral statement signed by Azerbaijan, Armenia and Russia in the end of the Second Karabakh War in November 2020. Do you think that Russia and Iran's future transport communication development may somehow affect the other proposals made by Azerbaijan or any other country in the region?
I'm sure that Russia and Iran can potentially benefit from this Zangezur corridor, and they are interested in this project, but they maybe to some extent are afraid of Turkish influence in the region, and there is no doubt that this corridor and implementation of this point can simplify Turkish presence in the region, and it concerns especially the Iranian side. That's why now, as far as I know, Baku and Tehran have an alternative, the so-called Aras corridor. Azerbaijan in its turn is ready for many different options, be it Zangezur corridor, be it Aras corridor. Azerbaijan has not got rid of this project, but if Iran and Armenia are not ready, okay, Azerbaijan can choose another options. That's not a problem. But in general, I think that implementation of this corridor now depends on the agreement between Azerbaijan and Armenia. If
possible bilateral agreement, peace agreement, you mean?
Yes, peace agreement. If Azerbaijan and Armenia reach this agreement, the Zangezur corridor issue can be solved very quickly.
Oh, that's very interesting. So, Ruslan, thank you. Thank you so much for joining Headlines today.
Thank you for having me.
Thank you. And I would like to remind that today with us was Ruslan Suleymanov, a non-resident research fellow at the Institute for Development and Diplomacy in Ada University. My name is Anastacia Lavrina. Dear viewers, do stay with A News and see you in the next edition.